Hey gang, thanks for tuning in. This is Jeremy. I'm out here in Santa Cruz at the courthouse, just wrapping up Overdose Awareness Day, and it was a phenomenal event. Essentially, people gathered from all over the county, and this particular event actually took place all over the world. You can see that's the courthouse, Santa Cruz County Courthouse. And this event happened everywhere, internationally. It actually started in Australia, I think in 2001 or 2002, and it has just blown up ever since. And the purpose of Overdose Awareness Day, obviously, is to provide awareness to the harsh reality that overdoses happen. But beyond that, it also provides a judgment-free zone for people to mourn loved ones that they've lost to addiction on a global scale. And it gives them an opportunity to do so without judgment. And, you know, you may think that kind of goes unsaid, but there is, unfortunately, a lot of stigma around overdose deaths. And so this vigil was a non-denominational way for people to pay their respects and process their grief together in a safe group. And it was just phenomenal. Another one of their big goals, and probably my favorite one, is to send a message to current and former people who struggled with substance abuse, and send a message to them that they are valued. And that is my favorite. I mean, I want everyone on earth to know that they are always valued, especially people who don't think that they're valued. You know, there's so much stigma around addiction, around overdose, around mental health, and frankly, it is just not helpful. And there's you know, oftentimes when people come forward, if they come forward with their addiction, they're met with a typical response is, well, just quit or just change the behavior. And the truth is that addiction is so much more complicated than that on a physical level, an emotional level, a mental level. And unfortunately, it makes it really difficult for people to come forward and share what they're experiencing. If we changed that, if it wasn't so much shame and ridicule and guilt, you know, it would probably make it easier for people to say those three magic words, those powerful words of "I need help," right? I mean, it's the biggest step someone can take, and when there's less stigma, it makes it a lot easier. And so I like that tonight's message was that if we as a community, as a society, if we were more successful at transforming that conversation from shame and guilt and ridicule and belittlement, if we changed that to hope, encouragement, and support, I mean, imagine how many more people would come forward and seek help, you know, and not just with addiction, but with mental health, with eating disorders, you know, any of those things that are just so heavily stigmatized and honestly just misunderstood. If people were met with different reactions, they might feel a little bit more open to talking about it, and that's the first step to getting help. And so, you know, it's a crazy thing. I mean, I really do feel like if that happened, the number of overdose deaths every year wouldn't be so high. I mean, as we spent today focused on overdose awareness, 200 people in America overdosed and died every single day. 200 people. I mean, that is crazy. I mean, it's just like, that's too many people. And I think, you know, as a country, as a state, even as a county, treatment centers like Elevate, treatment centers all over the country, and communities, we're doing a lot to fight addiction. I mean, we're doing a lot, but frankly, it's just not enough because those numbers are too high. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the need to transform the stigma. We need to listen more and judge less. And I'm not trying to get all preachy here on Facebook or anything, but unfortunately the stigma is out there and it's thick. There are ways that we can listen more and judge less when people come forward with their struggles, but also stay firm with them and not let the behavior continue necessarily, because that's what results in these overdose deaths, right? But we could listen more and be compassionate, and I feel like if, as a community, as a country, as a group, if all of us did those things and tried to kind of transform that stigma, then we would drop those numbers. I think that's where we could really make a difference. I was listening to this couple talk about their son who died of an overdose from heroin, and he had been doing heroin for 3 weeks. He was on his way to UC Berkeley, and straight A student, and came to his parents and said that he was using heroin, and within the week he passed away from an overdose. And that right there proves that there is stigma, because if I said close your eyes and picture a heroin addict, you probably wouldn't picture someone who's a straight A student on their way to UC Berkeley. But the reality is that there are millions of stories like that. They're happening all the time, and not just with heroin, but with alcohol, with every substance. And so together, I feel like if we start listening more and judging less and working together to just start a conversation and get people talking, we'll be able to diminish that stigma. And if enough people start talking about what's going on inside internally, then more people will get help and those numbers will drop. So that's pretty much all I had to say. Here's one more shot of the courthouse. Pretty much everybody's cleared out, but I felt the urge to go live because it was just such a powerful experience, and so many people in the community coming together and sharing stories without judgment, and really just talking about how as a community we can do something about this thing. So that being said, I'm going to leave some info in the comments. If you know anyone that needs help, if you need help yourself, please feel free to reach out to me. And if you're a community member and you want to join me in my efforts to change the conversation, then hit me up and let's do this. Thanks a lot, you guys. Have a good Friday. Let's get talking and have a good weekend.